Christian parenting.
This is Chrys and Shellie, and you're listening to Rocking It Grand.
Join us each week as we talk about leading the next generation with faith, purpose, and vision.
Welcome back to Rocking It Grand. We're so excited to visit with y'all again. You're listening to Shellie, and I have my friend Chris Howard with me, and we're going to be talking today about summer fun or summer frenzy. Yeah, there's two different ways to look at it. Chris, what do you think about when I say summer? What comes to your mind?
Well, when I think about summer, I think my mind always goes back to the little kid years of your life. You know, when we're adults, summer does take on kind of a different meaning. But when you ask somebody, what are your summer memories, you go back to your childhood. And what I remember is fishing a lot. My daddy loved to fish. So when we got the opportunity, we would fish. And swimming. As we got older, we got a boat. We learned how to water ski. And then for me, I always, my high school years, I went to summer camp, which I still do. You know, part of my life still.
Yeah, you are all about Camp Chioka. And so even though you have passed the reins officially to your grandson, I know you're still heavily invested at camp.
Yes, I am. I still love camp, and I think camping is one of the best ways for kids to grow in the summer, is to set aside a week. And I know you do that, and we're going to talk about that. Like you do that with your grandkids.
Oh my gosh, when you say camp, immediately my mind starts trying to plan Keggy camp, and I have to go, no, shut that away. So for our listeners, Keggy camp is a time when I have my in-town grands and my out-of-town grands descend upon the house, and we have this entire extravaganza of camp with activities, just like if you were going away to Camp Chioka. We have activities, we have devotionals, we have, of course, our water sports. We have a slogan: what happens at Keggy's camp stays at Keggy's camp. We have t-shirts that say no adulting allowed, and it's a lot of fun. But we're going to talk about that type of camp, having a grandchild camp, with your sister. Dr. Jo Neal Kirby is going to be on with us soon, and we're going to explore that a lot and just toss out some ideas about how people could make that happen if they want to have a camp for their grandkids. But today, hey, and you know what? It really segues perfectly into what we want to talk about, Chris, because my girls, their moms are always very happy that it's Keggy camp time. They're like, yay, yeah, go to Keggy camp. And they have a few moments because that is our topic, summer fun or summer frenzy, because when school's out, you and I both know that all moms are like, yay, the kids are out of school. And then they're like, yay, the kids are out of school, because what does this mean? You know, what am I going to do, right?
Yeah, it's yay or yikes. You know, that's
right.
How it is. Yeah, because everybody's excited. No more homework for a while. Some of the extracurricular activities are over for a while. Going to bed early for a while. Getting up early for a while. All that's over for a while. But then you realize, yikes. That means I need to think of some things for my kids to do this summer.
Right. I'm going to have these kids. Right. And we want to. I mean, they want to. It's wonderful. But it is a different type of mothering when now they're out of school and it's you and the kids. And it can be a lot of fun. But it can, inherently have some problems too. And so it's all about being intentional.
You know, I think about my mom with 6 kids. We all were on the swim team. Mm-hmm. And I thought, wow, my mom, that was pretty cool for mom to think about that forward thinking and putting us on the swim team. And then when we became adults, we asked her about it. And she said, no, that was just to give me a break. I could take all time. 6 of y'all to the same place. Yes, that was my time. Here we thought, man, she's just like rallying, doing everything for us. But, the other end of it, she was putting us in something that we had to work hard at, get good exercise, be outdoors, and be out of her house for a little while. And so,
yeah, she was wise. It was a win-win. Y'all were learning some things and it was good for your time, but she was also winning at it. And that's what we want to help our listeners do today is to win summer. So we're going to take the word summer and we're just going to break it apart a little bit and give y'all some ideas of how to approach summer to make it matter. We're always talking about living intentionally so that we can live with a legacy, leave a legacy for our children and our grandchildren. And that's how we want to address summer. You know, realizing that it comes with a lot of opportunities. So kick us off, Chrys. What do you got for S?
All right. I do love this. And we talk a lot about being intentional. And as a matter of fact, someone reminded me of some words that Corey and I put in a book we wrote called Strong and Kind. And one of our little sub chapters was be intentional about being intentional. Oh, so you really have to think about what you're going to think about and do, you know. So the S in summer, let that stand for set some summer goals. As a family, sit down, write down, say some things that you want to accomplish as a family. And that might mean traveling somewhere, or that might mean breaking a family habit that you all have gotten into that you're better at. That might mean learning something together. It might mean let's all as a family decide to not watch TV one night of the week so we can do some intentional things as a family. Whatever it is, I think the goal of this is that you sit down as a family and have a goal. Today's world is so different than when I was growing up. When I was growing up, we had 6 kids. The 3 boys were in one room. 2 of us girls were in one. And then my younger sister shared a room with my grandmother. So we were always in the same space. But a lot of homes today, children have their own rooms. And so they'll come in the evenings and then everybody just goes to their own spot. So this is a time when we say be intentional about setting some family goals, when you all have to get in the same room and say, okay, what do we want to accomplish this summer together as a family?
I love it. Not let it happen. Not let it happen accidentally, but what do we want to do? I love that your S, set summer goals. Just segues beautifully with what I want to talk about with the U, unifying the family. Because with summer comes softball, baseball, you know, camps, all the different activities that our kids can be involved in, or our grandkids if we're helping out with them. And a lot of those things can take a place that leaves no room for family life. And then the family begins to suffer. So I want our you to talk about unifying the family and thinking about what you can do to make that happen. Because you just mentioned that, you know, the kids might, let's say they're all at practice and they come home and then they go to their rooms because they all have a room and then they're on their own devices or their own activities. And I have seen people do this. I've seen families do it well by being intentional. For instance, Chrys, some families are involved in travel ball. Okay. And so their weekends might be taken up with travel and these tournaments. I've seen it done 2 ways. I have seen the family that was wise and intentional about wherever they traveled to, still worshiping, finding a place to go and worship, finding a place to have family devotions, but making sure that that sport didn't crowd out the place that they have for their family to worship the Lord and to seek God and to put Him first. And then, of course, I've seen the families that just fell out of church. They fell out of fellowship with other believers and had a detriment on their family because they let that take all the oxygen out of the home. So I just want us to be aware that we can unify the family this summer by just saying, you know, there's going to be some place for the family, and look in our schedules, figure out where that is and how we can make that happen so that our family life doesn't get swallowed up in all that busyness.
I agree. I think when we were growing up, it was a time when we didn't have much money. So vacation always meant traveling to somebody in our family, one of my parents' siblings, you know, my aunts and uncles. And I've thought about this recently because I am so close to my 21 first cousins, and I've never lived in the same town. Now, I lived in the same town with one set of them for a little while. But because my parents were intentional about keeping our extended family unified, and they used the summer and they used Thanksgiving, they used those times when we could be with them. And we're still close today. I'm still close to my first cousins. No, none of them live in this town that I live in now, and or have ever in a long time. So there are things that we can do if we are intentional, especially today with Instagram and Zoom and FaceTime and all those things that we can do, that are, we have to think a little more out of the box about keeping even our extended families unified, those family reunions. Those are those things that our children sometimes may roll their eyes at going to or being a part of, but those are the things that say to children, this is your safe spot. These are the people who love you. These are the people who rally around you, take care of you, give you security, and give you love you no matter what. That great aunt that you don't even know who wants a hug from you really says to that kid, you belong. And so I think under this unifying the family umbrella is thinking intentionally too about your extended family and staying connected to them as well.
I love that. I love that you bring in the extended family in that, because we want to solidify that immediate family, that family unit that's mom and dad and the kids. But what a great foundation we give our kids and our grandkids when we enlarge that and we take the time. My kids, my grown kids, are really good about that, about making sure that their kids, are connected with the rest of the family. And I appreciate that so much, because they're giving those children just such a stable background and such good memories. I used to go, Chrys, when I was a little girl, my family did that type of family extended bonding at a camp on the old Mississippi River that my papa had. Now, we didn't have a lot of money either, so don't think camp, think grand living. No, this was like camping out, really. And those summers spent with my cousins on the Mississippi River. I mean, an old branch of it was dangerous, it was not this pristine little camp experience, but we had so much fun, and we have memories from that today that we still talk about when we get together. Remember the time, like Papa had a room he made. They would shower all of us at one time. It was just like a water hose that came down out of the ceiling, and a big tin room. And we'd go in there in our bathing suits after we got out of the river, and he would shower us down at one time. And a snake came up out of the drain one time and cleared the whole shower. So, but those things come back year after year. It doesn't matter if you're not together for 20 years. And this is what we want to give our kids. We want to give them the idea that they're not just supported by mom and dad, but they are supported by those aunts and uncles and grandparents and great-grandparents.
I love that. We've just got to not let go of that in this modern world we live in today. We've got to not let go of those times when we're just out, like you said, on some river bank and just hanging out with cousins and aunts and uncles. I love it. Another thing that I remember writing about when I thought about this originally was, I love the verse in Proverbs 31 where it says that that the woman watches over her household. And when I think of that, that makes me think that we need to be smart moms. And smart moms mean that we can look over our children and carefully see who needs what in what area. And I mean, that does take some doing. But as a smart mom of your family, you want to be alert and aware of where there may be some disunity that has happened during the school year, and be wise enough to say, this summer, I want us to work on that, on pulling our family back together.
I like that.
Little more thoughts on that, just your own family, then of course your extended family. Unify everybody.
I love that scripture, that she looks well to the ways of her household, that she just kind of looks and she doesn't let one day go into the next without realizing, where do I need to shore someone up? Where do I need to shore up the weak places?
I love that. All right. Then we've got two M's, and the first M is going to stand for make a difference. I love this so much because I think every household needs to plan one thing that stretches everybody in the household to another level. You know, what is that thing? Is it a mission trip? Is it just a weekly visit to the nursing home, bake cookies, pass them out? Whatever it is, just something that stretches you to make a difference. I love this verse in 2 Thessalonians 3:13, and this is the message, but I love how it reads. We hear that some of you are living idle lives, refusing to work and wasting time meddling in other people's business. In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, we appeal to such people. No, we command them, settle down and get to work. Earn your own living. And to the rest of you, dear brothers and sisters, never get tired of doing good. We need to teach our children that part of their life should be devoted to doing good, making a difference in the life of somebody else. And children are the best at this. They love that. They love it when mom says, hey, let's make a cake and take it next door to the neighbor. Hey, let's make a batch of cookies and run them down to the nursing home. Hey, kids, what do you think about just anything? Kids love that. And what that says to your kid is a huge message of whatever I'm doing in life, I'm going to take some of my time to make the difference in a life of somebody else.
Oh, that
was perfect for that.
That is so good, Chrys. And I love the way you say that, you know, to do this for our children and what message it gives them, because they immediately respond to it. It is just a fact that kids respond to that. And what you're doing, you're calling them out of their own little bubble. And we can all get in our little bubbles in the summer doing our own little things. And, you know, what can I do? You know, what can you do to entertain me? It can be part of the summer fun or frenzy that our kids are going, and our grands, if we have them, are going, but what can you do? I'm bored. Entertain me. I remember growing up in the country, I have two sisters and I was the youngest of the three. And mom, like, we knew not to say I'm bored. Like, that was the worst thing you could possibly say at my house, because if you were bored, mom would find you something to do. But we can't, and we've got to be aware of that, not let these littles live in a way of entertain me. What can you do to entertain me? And that helps. Your M helps reframe that into what can I do to help someone else?
And remember, sadly, in 2021, we live in an entertainment environment.
Mm-hmm.
Our kids are so used to being entertained. Even with all the homeschooling now, we're on a screen looking to be entertained. And the summer is the perfect time to take a break from that and let their brains think about what can I do for somebody else.
That's good.
I mean, we may, of course, say after we do that, we'll all go by and get a snow cone. Awesome to do that. But let's mind shift there.
We're never saying don't entertain them. You know, we're always saying, yes, entertain them. I mean, do this, have all this family fun, but you're doing them a disservice if you are the one that has to occupy their time. You're doing both of you. You're doing mom a disservice, you're doing the child a disservice if that child can't find something to do without you, you know, orchestrating it. So I love your M. So here's mine. Are you ready for mine? We have our second M, and I am saying master, and then wait for it because it'll be a part B, and model learning a new skill. All right. So as we go into the summer fun or frenzy, we want our kids to be able to master something new, because it's going to give them, it's going to really shore up all the character traits that we want, the perseverance that it takes. For instance, I learned to ski at a young age. You learned to ski at a young age. We're going to talk more about the camp that I have for my grandkids in a separate episode. But that's one of the things that we do is we learn new things when they're here at the house that they haven't been doing. And last summer, was their first year to learn to water ski. The older ones, the 11-year-olds last year learned to water ski. Now, you know that when you learn to water ski, you're going to fall. You're not going to do it the first time. But mastering that new skill gives you confidence that you can do it. It requires you to persevere. But the reason that I say there's a big part of that is because as we age, and Chrys and I are not young people anymore, but as we age, we can tend to model the exact opposite. No, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that, or not learning, or not growing. And then we're at cross purposes if we expect our children to keep growing. So we want to master new skills, whether it's skiing or riding a horse or, planting a garden or anything that we haven't done previously. We want to master a new skill during the summer. We want to make it fun, and we want to model it by doing it ourselves instead of just preaching, right? So Google things you haven't done before, look at a tutorial, figure it out, and go do it. And if you fall, get back up.
Remember things like going fishing, picking up a tennis racket. Those things really don't cost anything. Going out in the yard and learning how to shoot a basketball correctly, those things really don't cost anything. There's plenty out there that you can give your kids lessons in. That's one thing. But man, today's world with this YouTube of everything, it's insane what you can learn.
I mean, you can just Google, brain surgery. No, I'm joking about that. But you can, we don't want any Google brain surgeons learning those tutorials, but there really is a wealth of information at your fingertips. You want to water paint? You've always wanted to water paint? Well, Google it, look at a YouTube tutorial, and you can learn how to water paint from an expert.
Bob Ross.
Yes, he's right there.
That's right there. Anyway, I love that. I love that. Just master new skills. And that goes right into my E, kind of. E, I think, needs to stand for evaluate yourself. To me, summer is kind of the first of the new year. Like New Year, you kind of get to start over again. Summer is like that too. Don't you remember going back to school after summer and thinking, oh, my hair's a little bit longer. I got those braces off.
Yeah.
I made some improvements. I'm a little bit taller, those kinds of things. Well, summer can play that type of role for us, even as adults. It's like that new beginning. It's a time for you to that gives you that second time of the year. You do that first year. Now here we are in the end of May. Okay, let's evaluate myself again. Things are not quite as busy. I can remember when I was a teenager, and you probably remember this too, Shellie, just sitting out in the front yard and thinking about life. With a blanket out there.
Yeah.
Kids very rarely get to do that experience anymore because guess what? They've got something in their hand all the time, their phones. We would go outside, my sister and I, lay on a blanket, look at the clouds, think about our future, just evaluate ourselves. That's what summer is so good for. So now, how does that look in 2021? Or how does that look today with your kids? There may be some intentionality to that of sitting down and saying, you know what, this summer, I think it'd be great if you think about where you were in the school year. Maybe you do this at dinner one night. How did you feel about your school year? What are some things you want to do differently before school starts next year? All that leads into great conversation time. And then allowing them that time to really have nothing to do. Sometimes it's okay.
I like that. It's okay. My prior M was about modeling, and I want to kind of apply that to what you're saying about teaching our children to evaluate their school year or to evaluate where they are and make changes. And I want to encourage the adults in us to listen and to use that information, that advice as well, because that is stellar advice. One of the things that I have taken to doing the last probably 3 summers, Chris, is that I bring everything that's on my plate before the Lord. And I'm like, what do you want on it? What do you want off of it? Now, for me, that means I live on a lake here in Northeast Louisiana, and I like to just like float around on the lake in the float boat with just me and my dog, ever-present dog, with a notebook. Not my device or anything, just a blank paper and a pen. And I just asked the Lord, what's on my plate that you still want on my plate moving forward into the fall? And what is here that you don't want on? And just letting the Lord speak to me. One of the things that came out of that, and you know this, several years ago, was leaving live radio. I had been in live radio for a decade at that time. I loved live radio, but I have responsibilities and a plate that is full with ministry and traveling and speaking, and my parents and my grands. And it didn't work anymore. And I didn't even really realize it wasn't working anymore. And I would not have realized it in the time that it was going to free up for me to really put my heart into some other things the Lord was calling me to, had I not done that. So my point is, I stopped and I said, what's here that doesn't need to be here? And out of that, the Lord led me to leave live radio, which was taking up a lot of my time in preparation, and then being on air. And I was able to move into podcasting from right here at home. And I just reclaimed a lot of time, but I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't have stopped. You just kind of go on autopilot. This is what you do.
I love that. Thinking of that, I just thought about this would be a great idea for your kids. Give everybody a notebook as summer starts and say,
oh, I like that.
Here is something for you to write down where you've come from, where you want to be, just a diary of the summer of things, and include a spot where you can add scripture about where's God speaking to me in my life. And this can be done when they're 8 years old, 8, 9 years old,
That is so good. That is so good. What you're doing right there is you're beginning to open up a climate of conversation that we want to have, because sometimes we just think our children aren't really ready for those type of conversations, or we might have those type of conversations with other adults. But when you begin to say, no, I want to have these type of really thoughtful conversations with my children, we're not saying, Chris and I aren't saying they're going to go to their room and, write 5 pages down. But what it's going to do is kind of give them a different perspective that, wait, I don't need to be on autopilot. What do I need to do?
Plus, I'm going to tell you something. The younger you start, the easier it is. Like, if you've got teenagers, go ahead, throw it out there, do it. But don't be afraid when they're 9 and 10, because they're going to be more receptive. And then you've got them on board for when they're 15. You say, okay, here's your summer, here's your diary, or, let's sit down and talk about, like we always have done. This is what we've always done. Talk about, where were you this year? Where do you want to be? What are some things you can do this summer to get you where you want to be?
And that's why your advice is so wise, Chris, because when you start early, bringing up those type of conversations, you're teaching them how to think about life hand in hand with what the Father wants and asking. And you're just giving them those tools. Oh, I just could not applaud that more. I love it. I love it. All right. So we're up to our R. Okay. Are you ready out there? Chris and I, as we go into the summer, we want to remind you, moms and grandmoms, and your children, to relax, because we've talked about so many of the activities that can be part of the summer fun or frenzy. But we also want to remind you, encourage you to just do nothing sometimes. Just absolutely give yourself permission not to do anything, and just let that be a time that recharges your kids, recharges you. They don't have to be entertained, and they don't have to be doing a chore. They can just be on their own, and you can be on your own. As the mom and the grandma, this is what we can fall into, the be productive trap, because I think we have kind of in a lot of ways, and I'm speaking to myself first and foremost here, we kind of have given that ability to, the lazy days of summer thing, that just kind of read a book, sit on the back porch. If we're not careful, we feel guilty doing that because we're not producing. It's just me, Chrys, or can you speak to that? If we're not producing, then we're not doing good.
I think that's true, but I think it also plays into realizing that everybody's idea of relaxation is different. Like my sister that we're going to interview maybe next week, Jonelle's idea of relaxing is reading a book. For me, I want to play a game of tennis.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so being respectful of each other's what they think is relaxing and not putting any kind of a guilt trip on anybody else. I mean, that's more what we fall into in today's society. It's your, somebody looking at you and then you start feeling like, okay, well, I really shouldn't be out here reading a book. I should be in there cleaning the kitchen and posting about that I'm cleaning the kitchen or I'm organizing my closet or something like that. No, everybody needs time to sit out on their back porch and read a book or go play a game of tennis or walk the neighborhood, whatever it is for you that's relaxing. We know biblically this is true. Jesus,
be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I'm God.
Jesus had to walk away from the crowds. Mm-hmm. There are times when we have to walk away from crowds, and moms, it is okay if you tell your kids go outside and play.
Mm-hmm. It's okay.
It is totally fine. They can do that. They can go outside and play, and you don't have to be right there with them. Now, not a 2-year-old, you know what I'm talking about. With plenty old enough to be outside to play, it is fine for you to say, go outside and play. I'll see you in 30 minutes.
I always said that my mom raised latchkey kids before there was a term of latchkey kids because she locked us outside, and I learned that skill from her. And my grown children today laugh about the fact that in the house we lived in when they were little kids, there was a sliding glass door, and they will still mimic what it would look like to come up to the sliding glass door and like try to slide it open. And they would be looking in at me as if like the door's locked, like let us in. And I'm looking at them like, I know it's locked because I'm the one that locked it. Go play. I don't even know if that concept in 2021 would fly without you being arrested, for locking your children outside. But I'm recommending the fact that we all need to be still and know that He is God. We all need to relax, let go of the list, let go of all the production. It will be there, and relax. And boy, we're better moms and grandmoms when we do.
Exactly. Well, that's our show for today. We hope that there's something in that piece of the puzzle of what summer is that'll help you as you move into this next fun phase of the year. Everybody's so excited about just being able to get out a little bit more. We had a year like no other in 2020, and it's extended into 2021. So use your summer, enjoy it, relax, set some goals, unify your family, make a difference, all of those great things.
Absolutely. And remember, we would love it if you would subscribe. If you have not done that, hit that subscribe button so that you can meet us next time. Share this podcast with your friends if you're enjoying it, and engage with us on social media. We literally love to hear from you, so give us some feedback.
We'll see you next time.